Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel and welcome to our cozy little corner of the internet. I'm Pen and today I'll be reading chapter 10 of It's Not Love If You Run When It's Hard by Lita Cakes. I don't really think there's any trigger warnings for this video, but there's a little bit of description of violence, I guess. But there should be nothing that really triggers anyone, but still make sure to take care of yourself and I'll see you guys in the fic. Chapter 10. The weekend passed eventually. Izuku and Hitoshi spent Saturday and most of Sunday in the infirmary. Several of their classmates came to visit. Katsuki visited on Saturday morning and gave them both a hug to tell them, "Don't worry about anything, I took care of it." Izuku and Hitoshi shared a worried look, but when Katsuki bumped his hand up Izuku's chin, they both caught the sight of blood under his sleeve. Honestly, Izuku should have expected Katsuki would confront Tsubasa, but he sure as hell didn't expect him to beat the guy to a bloody pulp. Honestly, he kinda hoped Katsuki did. Hitoshi agreed. When they were both released Sunday afternoon, Hitoshi was only nursing some sore ribs and a couple of internal bruises, and Izuku was finally out of his sling. They had slept a lot that weekend from Chiyo's quirk, but it meant they healed up faster. Even if they wasted a whole weekend in bed laying around. Nezu wants to see you. They only just walked through the doors of the dorm when Shota pointed to the door. They both turned and groaned loudly. "Just Izuku. Hitoshi, you're on bed rest until tomorrow. If you aren't up for class, text me in the morning and you'll be excused." I'm crashing for the rest of the day," Hitoshi grumbled. Izuku kissed Hitoshi on the cheek and promised to join him later, which Hitoshi mumbled in agreement. "Bakugo has detention for a month." "Huh?" Izuku turned to Shota with a confused look. "Oh, yeah. I can't prove he did beat the guys up who beat you and Hitoshi up, but I know he did. They ended up in hospital covered in burns and starburst marks. Oh, yeah, that was Katsuki. On top of that fuck used your pre-chant for world domination against me, and Nezu heard him. Go, the rat wants to talk villainy with you." Izuku chuckled as he scurried out of the dorms before Shota changed his mind. Oh, this was going to be fun, or horrifying, only time would tell. Izuku anxiously tugged on his curls. One long strand tangled around his finger as he continuously twisted and pulled it. He was currently curled up in one of the couches in Nezu's office, with about 8 or 10 of his notebooks spread across his lap and the coffee table in front of him. They were trying to sort through which of his notebooks was the most dangerous, and which could be recoded so they could be given back to Izuku without any concern. Nezu spent the first half hours asking him questions about the notebooks. They had yet to review them more than a couple of glances where Shota and Nezu both agreed they needed to be locked away. After Nezu heard Katsuki in the hall with Shota, the Chimera principal had taken a deeper look and realized some of them were. This book about Endeavor is scathing. Nezu sounded gleeful about that. Izuku tried to hide the grin that brought to his lips. It was honest. That's all I admit to. Oh, without no doubt. Unfortunately, the Chimera tossed Endeavor's notebook onto the coffee table and picked up another one, Death Arms. That one is too dangerous to let loose. Izuku flipped the page of the book he was reading and clicked his tongue. Shame. I have the first memorized. He was going to be my first hit if I ever was denied into UA. Is that so? Nezu was trying to hide his curiosity, but Izuku knew better. Easy target. His wife's in a state mental facility. Did you know that? Doesn't say what for, but I have a few guesses. Some kind of breakdown, clearly, likely caused by Endeavor himself. One dead son, one abused in training. Izuku used air quotes. Todoroki, and I spoke of that, sort of. What did he say? Not much. Izuku tossed the notebook he'd been looking through, Midnights, onto the safe pile when he picked up another one, Hawks. He asked what it was like to be quirkless. I asked what he meant, what it was like being the son of the top 5 hero. All he said was, "It burns." Nezu hummed in the back of his throat. There wasn't enough to legally act on, not enough that they could prove to actually help Todoroki, but Izuku could take Endeavor down several pegs if he really wanted to. He could burn that man from the history books and send his legacy into the darkness of the Commission vaults. What a pleasure that would be. Maybe he'd ask Todoroki about it. This notebook is short. And Nezu was asking if there was a reason behind it. For it, Izuku shrugged. Death Arms is private. I could have gotten the information otherwise, but I tried to make my notebooks from observations on surface level data, news articles, OPD, public commission reports, and anything I can personally see or assume based on seeing them in action. Still, I was up to 3 AM writing that one, I think. Hitoshi remembers it better than I do. It feels more like a fever dream to me. That's what makes you so dangerous, Izuku. How do you figure, Nezu? Izuku paged through Hawks' notebook. Once he found the information he knew would be hazardous if released, he tossed the book into the encrypt pile and turned to the principal. They were almost done with the stockpile of notebooks, and thus far, 2/3 had to be encrypted. Nezu's smile went dark, as if remembering something. If anyone can learn to hack and pry for information, to dig up the level into the dark in order to gain the upper hand. But you don't need that. You can pick apart a person's weaknesses with only your mind and your eyes. But you don't lash out. You don't use this power against those who hurt you. You are the dangerous kind. You are dangerous because you choose to be kind. Izuku turned to the window. Despite Nezu's words, he never felt like he had power over anyone or anything. He'd always been the one with his face in the dirt. He'd always been the one with face in the dirt. He'd always been the one with a busted up lip and black eyes. I came very close to making a different choice, Nezu. Sometimes I still... He took a deep breath, his whole body shaking as he exhaled. Promise me something, Nezu? What's that? If I ever lose myself... He couldn't finish the thought. Nezu reached across the table and placed a paw on his knee. He seemed to understand in some way. I understand, Nezu. I understand, Izuku. I won't let you fall into darkness. Izuku rubbed a hand over his mouth, nodding. Thank you. He was terrified of what his own mind could do. The things he had spent hours debating in his mind. The best ways to destroy a hero's career, the easiest heroes to target, the way he could simply put a knife to their throats without so much of a single drop of blood slipping out, being spilt. The anger he felt for those assholes who beat up Hitoshi would not fade for a while, but Izuku knew if he let it eat him alive, he would never truly become a hero. He'd never find his way out of that kind of darkness. He rubbed the bands along his left wrist. These only served as a reminder to grief and pain, of survival over it. Maybe one day they could mean hope, but that day was still a long way away. There was still many obstacles to overcome before then. Sleep had, for once, been easily found, but the universe was once again refusing Izuku to allow Izuku any true rest. The ring of his phone startled him out of an empty sleep. It was Osamu's ringtone, a shrill cry that would wake him up out of a dead sleep. Izuku scrambled out of bed, his heels cracked onto the bed frame, as he fought his damn sheets to get across the room. He was barely awake when he grabbed the phone from its charging port to answer it. Osamu? His voice sounded drunk to his own ears. So, this is Dr. Taita from Musutafu General Hospital. This number was listed as an emergency contact. Takahashi San is in our care, but I need some information about him. What do you mean, in your care? What happened? Izuku was trying desperately to control his emotions, but it wasn't working. He gripped the desk with his free hand so hard that his knuckles turned white. His brain was instantly awake, and the rack of nerves. First Satoshi and not Osamu, and now Osamu. He had seen his mentor just a couple of days ago, and he was fine. There was a villain attack this evening in the main shopping district. Takahashi-san was a bystander. He's been wounded. We're treating him for several burns on his left side, from the neck down to his waist. What? Izuku flipped his computer open his data sheet on active villains in the area, and pulled up his data sheet of active villains in the area. He knew there weren't many villains with fire quirks. He didn't need to check, so he did anyway. There aren't any. Then realization struck him painfully. Endeavor. The word was gasped out of his lungs like it was almost too painful to say. As I said, he was a bystander during a villain attack. Endeavor was the responding hero. Takahashi-san was unfortunately in the line of fire. Izuku's body started to shake. Bystander. What a disgusting word. Osamu was not a bystander, he was a victim. Endeavor had burned him. This was no villain attack. It was friendly fire that the Commission would never take responsibility for. The boil pooling in Izuku's stomach was red hot like molten iron. Just a couple of hours ago, he asked Nezu to stop him if this day should come. Hours ago, he truly understood the gravity, the weight of his own abilities. Now, only hours after Nezu told him he'd chosen to be kind, some kind of switch flipped in his mind. Kindness, obedience, tolerance, those ideas melted away. There was nothing left. He wasn't sure anyone, even Nezu, could wash this kind of boiling rage out of his mind. Midoriya-kun, I need information about Takahashi-san. His files are empty. That was purposeful. Osamu paid good money to get most of his records erased. Their medical records are cleaned, so they wouldn't be judged in medical care. It didn't always work, but today it seemed effective. In an instant, Izuku shut down his rage and calmness took over. His body relaxed into the desk. Osamu Takahashi is in his 30s. He has a minor IQ quirk that boosts his calculation speed. He works in the engineering field, no hard labour. He doesn't have any sort of medical conditions or known genetic abnormalities. Izuku listed out the man's cover story from memory with little effort. Where is he? I'll be there in 30 minutes. He's in the burn ward, room 603. The medical team will have more questions when you arrive. Thank you. It wasn't this doctor's fault that Osamu was injured, so he didn't allow himself to take his rage on someone only trying to help. They might have overlooked the fact that Endeavor was the problem, but he could swallow that small grievance back for the time being. Right now, he needed to see Osamu, and moreover plan his downfall of Endeavor. Izuku was dressed and out the door in record time. He didn't stop to tell anyone where he was going. He'd be back before they missed him, surely. There was no reason to disturb anyone's sleep. This was Izuku's mentor, which made it his fight alone. He didn't have a car, so he ran. He ran so hard that his lungs burned. He climbed UA's gates and pushed himself to his farthest limit, begging his body to move just that little bit faster every minute. He'd never run this fast in his life. If it weren't for the fear of losing Osamu, he might have felt free for the first time in his life. But freedom came at a cost. Izuku knew that all too well. Izuku would never be free, not until the defenseless would be protected in their society. He was almost gagging from breathlessness when he came to a skidding stop outside of the hospital. He checked his phone. 3 a.m. He was soaked to the bone in sweat, and his face was a mess of stinging hot tears. But he only allowed himself 30 seconds to recover before dashing into the entrance through the entrance doors. Burn ward, where? He barked at the nurse. She pointed down the hall. Sixth floor. You'll have to disinfect before entering. Check at the nurse's station outside the doors. Izuku nodded off and ran. Hey, don't run in here. His feet caught on the I don't know that word. His feet caught on something. Easy, Izuku. Breathe, he told himself. He half-jogged to the elevators, bouncing from foot to foot before the elevator arrived. Anxiousness was a damp understatement. He needed to know that Osamu was okay. He needed to see that his mentor would recover. Izuku was almost convinced that he'd lose his mind if Osamu was taken from him. He couldn't stop twitching and bouncing from the balls of his feet as the elevator carried him up to the 6th floor at a snail's pace. Come on, you stupid thing! He kicked the metal doors, but it didn't help, or make the elevator move faster. But it made Izuku feel better, for a second. When the doors opened, he forced his legs to walk at a fast clip. He wasn't running, but he was moving as fast as he could while respecting the hospital rules. I'm here to see Osamu Takahashi. I'm Izuku Midoriya. His emergency contact. The nurse looked at her desk, looked up, and blinked. You're a teenager, yes. Get over that. I need to see him. Dr. Taida said they'd have questions for me as well. Oh, right. Come with me. You'll need to be disinfected before you can enter the burn ward. She must have seen his fear and worry because she was moving just as fast as Izuku wanted her to. She took him to the double doors before the burn room. Inside the first set of doors was a clean room. He was stripped down, showered, sprayed with chemical disinfectant, and put into sanitized scrubs, a mask and gloves. The process took about 15 minutes, and Izuku was agonizing over how long Osamu had been there, alone. When they finally allowed him entry into the burn ward, Izuku was on the verge of sobbing again. He choked it back, if only to keep his mask from fogging up. They had given him one of those plain medical masks over his mouth and nose, and a clear plastic shield covering his whole face atop of that. The nurse from the front desk passed him off to another nurse who was dressed similarly to Izuku. Izuku Midoriya-kun, he nodded. Come this way. Takahashi-san is this way. Izuku bit the inside of his cheek hard enough to make it bleed. The ward itself was quiet and sterile. Izuku could smell the chemicals. They burnt the back of his throat the longer he stayed there. Each room had a large sliding glass door, and the patients themselves were in various amounts of bandages. Were all these people from just this incident? They all looked freshly wounded and bandaged. Just how far did Endeavour go? The nurse motioned for Izuku to go into Osamu's room, but Izuku didn't yet look at his mentor in his current state. The nurse was speaking again. You may touch him, but you may not disturb his bandages. He is awake and coherent. Takahashi-san is the least wounded of the patients who came in from the villain attack. Dr. Taida will soon speak to you when she finishes rounds. Thank you. When the nurse walked away, he finally turned to look into Osamu's room. Izuku's mentor was staring right at him with a placid smile on his face. Izuku nearly broke right there. The left side of his body was bandaged from neck down into the blankets. His left arm was laying on a pillow in his lap, wrapped up. The burns must not have been bad enough to need grafts, but they were bandaged. But if they were bandaged up this tightly, hopefully it wouldn't leave a horrible scar. Izuku slid the door open and shut and jogged to Osamu's side. Izuku? I was so scared, he gasped. I was so scared I was going to lose you. No, none of that. I'm too stubborn to die, remember? Izuku laughed wetly, still trying to hold back his tears. Yeah, he sniffled. No water works. I promise I'm okay. Osamu reached out his good hand and Izuku clutched it to his chest. You ran here, didn't you? It's late. What time? Past 3 in the morning. Izuku, he sighed. Tell me you told someone. Izuku shook his head. You're my mentor, my responsibility. I didn't want to wake anyone up. Izuku, you can't do that. You're not. You have a whole school that worries about you now. It doesn't matter, Osamu. I had to know you were okay. I had to. He started choking on his tears. He finally started choking on his tears as they streamed down his face. Look what Endeavour did to you. Shh, I'm okay. The doctors said I got the least of it. I should be fine with a few rounds of quirk healing. They're just worried about the infection while the first round of treatment settles in. That's not the point. A hero did this. All those patients out there. This is horrible. You were just all bystanders. God, he hated that word. But they had been before Endeavour burnt them all to get some villain. What a miserable mess this had become. Izuku, take a breath. I know you're angry, but right now you need to focus on your education, not this. How can I focus on becoming a hero when a hero did this to you? I don't want to be a part of an organization that has no regard for civilian lives. Osamu's hand squeezed him, almost painfully. He pulled Izuku closer to where they were almost face to face, or well, mask to mask. Listen to me, Izuku. You will not ruin your chance at becoming a hero, the first of your kind, just because you're angry at what one hero did. The whole system is corrupt, Osamu. It needs to be torn down from the inside out. Then tear it down. But don't you dare give up on this one chance. This is the first time anyone like us has been given a shot at changing the world. Don't throw that away from me or anyone. Do you hear me? Izuku sighed, his whole body deflating. Seriously? Fuck the cops. No, not literally, but like, we live right next to a main road, so it's pretty much always cars going by. Anyway, Izuku sighed, his whole body deflating with his mentor's words. Osamu was right. If he let this eat him alive, he'd never get the chance to be a better hero. His chance to be a better hero. He'd waste his chance as the first quirkless person to make it this far. Izuku may not change the world like Osamu suggested, but he certainly made a huge impact. By just graduating high school. There was no way to tell if the commission would actually let him get a hero license, but letting his anger get the best of him, it was only going to make things worse in the long run. Izuku wanted to be a hero. He wanted to see that the world was capable of being that quirkless people were just as capable as being strong as everyone else. Destroying Endeavor's legacy would only prove to the opposite point if he did legally, or if he did it illegally, or ruin his own career in the process. Fine, he grunted out, but I'm still gonna take him down a few pegs with his son's permission. Osamu sighed into the bed. I can live with that. Izuku squeezed his mentor's hand and settled into the chair beside the bed. The tension finally eased in his shoulders, which stopped some of the trembling. Shizenshi-san's going to be mad at you if you don't come to her. It's going to be mad you didn't come to her. Asami coughed out a half laugh as he nodded. Yeah, she'll give me hell for this one. He paused to look at the hallway where the nurses were wandering past every so often, then back to Izuku with a stern glare. Izuku, I need you to do something for me. Of course, Sami. What's wrong? I need you to ask Nezu to watch over my mentees for me. What? Why Nezu? Nami usually takes care of your duties when you're sick. I know, Izuku, but Nami's got her own problems to handle right now. She's okay, she's safe, but one of her mentees is struggling. She needs to focus on that. Nezu he's sort of a reserve member of the community. Izuku leaned back a little confused. What? It's been a secret to keep him safe from persecution, but Nezu is a gold band. Izuku dropped Osamu's hand, his body standing up in shock. Gold band? Those were the ones who done great service to the Quirkless those who had done great service to the Quirkless community were given a golden band in recognition for their efforts. Izuku had never met anyone with a gold band, nor had seen anyone mention a gold band existed out there. Shuzenshi-san had a grey band to denote her as a safe person. Izuku was planning to give Shoda one of those fairly soon, but he had never seen a gold band. How long has he? Since before you were born. He helped save dozens of us about 20 years ago from a stake of hate crimes. Since then, he's been working in the background to try to push legislation through that would benefit us. It hasn't been easy, but we're close. Izuku flipped up the bed rail and leaned his arms on it so he could try to relax a little. This was news to him, though the elders in the community didn't speak much about their history, not in so much detail. It was often too painful to revisit, but Izuku had questions now. So, if he's a reserve member of the community, does that mean he let him into UA to help us? Yes and no, Osamu sighed. He couldn't just let you in because he wanted us to progress. You had to earn it. He handled the board when you did. So no, he didn't manipulate anything. You earned your path all on your own. He just dealt with the quirkless assholes who would have kept you out. Izuku smiled behind his mask. Okay, I'll let him know to check on your mentees. That includes you too, kiddo. Yeah, I've got Shoda and Hitoshi for that. It's not the same, and you know it. Again, his mentor was right. The relationship he held with Osamu wasn't the same as what he held with Hitoshi or Shoda. He confided in Osamu. This man was the line between life and death on several occasions for Izuku. He had been there through just about everything in the past 10 years. Hitoshi was his boyfriend, sure, and Izuku could rely on him, but he wasn't quirkless, and that would always be a wall between them. I know. I'm tired. You should call Aizawa for a ride back to campus. He's not going to be happy. No kidding, Izuku groaned. I'll call him in a bit. I just want to stay a little while longer, just until you fall asleep, okay? Okay, kid. Osamu closed his eyes. Izuku was still holding his hand over the rail, but his grip was getting weaker by the second as he fell asleep. Izuku might have lied just a little bit. He didn't want to go back to school just yet. He didn't want to see the realities that he'd been told. He didn't want to face the realities he'd just been told. Nezu was a reserve mentor. He was a gold band member for the community. Izuku needed some time to process, so he set an alarm on his phone and let himself drift off to sleep next to his mentor, just for a little while. Waking up to silence and peace was never a good thing in Shota's mind. When things were too quiet, it meant something was happening and that he wasn't aware of, and that terrified him. The cats were in their hiding places, and Hisashi was in the kitchen making breakfast. Shota could smell the bacon, but it was just too quiet. For now, he decided to let himself enjoy the peace he so rarely found in his life. The kids were going to the USJ this week. This trip was supposed to be a surprise, but Shota was reconsidering it. Something just felt off today, and he couldn't shake that feeling. He took his time getting dressed and showered and dressed, capture scarf and all, before heading out for breakfast. Hisashi was at the stove, humming softly to himself. What a beautiful sight he was. Shota snuck behind him and wrapped his arms around his husband's waist. Hisashi jumped and they shared a laugh as Hisashi patted his hands. "Did you sleep well, Sho?" Same as usual." "Well, would bacon and eggs make it better?" "Probably," Shota grumbled. Hisashi plated their food so they could sit down and enjoy a relaxing breakfast. Again, the horrible pang of dread stuck in his gut, but he ignored it. This was just another day, that's what he kept telling himself. At least that he did, until someone started pounding at the door with their fist. "Shota?" He was up and running to the door before his name was even fully out of Hitoshi's mouth. There was no good reason for any of his students to be pounding at his door at 5 a.m. He flung the door open, nearly making Hitoshi fall onto him. "Izuku's gone," the teen gasped. "What?" "Izuku, I can't find him. His phone's gone and his room's a mess." "Show me." He turned back to his husband. Alert Nezu, and lock down the dorms." "On it." Hitoshi pulled him forward so they were running back to the hall, and they were running back down towards Izuku's hall, back down the hall to Izuku's dorm. Thanks, English. Shota grabbed the frame to stop his sprint and pull himself into the room. The place was a mess, clothes, shoes, and notebooks. It wasn't quite like someone had thrashed it, more like Izuku himself had been in a rage while trying to get dressed. The edge of his desk is what caught Shota's attention. He ran his hand down that dented edge. What happened? "Did he leave you a note or message?" "No, he's just gone. I thought maybe something happened in the community. Neither he nor Osamu are answering their messages, and Nami said she hasn't heard anything. She's been on suicide watch for one of her mentees." "Okay, that doesn't mean something happened. Still, Izuku wouldn't walk unless it was serious." "I know, Shota, I know. Why didn't he wake me? He doesn't usually run off without telling me things. I'm scared." Shota pulled Hitoshi into a tight hug, careful of his still bruised rib cage. He wanted to know the exact same thing. Why did Izuku wander off without telling anyone? Without at least waking Hitoshi? The only thing he could think of was another suicide, but he would have told them, right? He would have asked Shota to take him somewhere, instead of, did he go by foot? Shota's phone rang, saddling both of them out of their hug. Shit. He fumbled with the damn thing and answered with only a quick glance of the screen. "Izuku?" Hitoshi grabbed the front of his shirt, desperate for answers. Shota held up his hand. Hang on, I need to sneeze. Really, sneeze? You're not gonna happen? Fine. Hey, Shota, I'm sorry. I'm at the hospital. Wait, shit, no, not me. I'm fine. Shota sighed. What happened? Why did you run off? I got a call from Osamu's phone. It was a doctor telling me he was in the burn ward at Musasafi General. What? What happened? Osamu was trying to grab the phone. Stop it. I'm asking him. Is that Toshi? Tell him I'm sorry. I didn't want to wake either of you up. This is my mentor, my problems. Don't you dare try to take the world on by yourself, Izuku. Is Osamu okay? What happened to Osamu? Shh, Hitoshi, shush. Just give me a moment. He is okay, Shota. He wasn't as bad as I thought. There was a villain attack. Osamu got hit with crossfire. Crossfire? From who? Endeavor? Oh, God damn that bastard. Shota bit his tongue, angry at himself for having cursed at a fellow hero. But he knew the idiot deserved it regardless. Oh, of course. I always forget to mute my phone. God damn that bastard. Shota bit his tongue, angry at himself for having cursed out a fellow hero, but he knew the idiot deserved it regardless. But a sudden fear crept into the back of his mind. He knew this could go very badly if they weren't careful. Shota, give me the damn phone. Hitoshi snatched the phone out of his hand. Izuku, are you okay? Yeah, I know, but the kid sighed. Who the hell? Yeah. Okay, fine. He handed the phone back and stumbled onto Izuku's bed, slumped on Izuku's bed. Shota, can you come pick me up? Of course, kiddo. I'll meet you at the front in 30 minutes, okay? Thanks. Okay, thanks. Oh, and I called Nezu first. He knows where I am. Alright, I'll see you soon. Hang tight. Shota sat down next to Hitoshi and sighed deeply. He was relieved that Izuku was okay, but he was still worried about the kid's mentor. Izuku hadn't said it wasn't as bad as he thought, but that doesn't mean that it wasn't bad. Izuku had 6 people on the ward, Hitoshi mumbled. Osamu had the least wounds out of all of them. He'll be released in a few days. Endeavor did this. He burnt civilians in the path to a villain. How could he? Hitoshi, you and Izuku should know better than most that sometimes your heroes aren't what we make them out to be in our minds. You say that like you know. Hitoshi's voice was chipped, angry. About Endeavor? Yeah, I've known about his problems for a while. The Hero Commission keeps sweeping it under the rug. Hitoshi looked up at him with worried eyes and tight lips. Shota knew what he was thinking. The same thought had crossed his mind seconds after Izuku told him who'd done this. There was a growing fear in his chest, a fear that his own charge. A fear of his own student of his own charge. They were terrified that Izuku would destroy Endeavor. The fear wasn't that he would do anything to do with Endeavor himself. No, that asshole deserved whatever Izuku dished out to him. The fear was because if Izuku did this, if he gave in to the pain, there may not be a way to come back from that. Nezu had told him recently that he was terrified of Izuku's mind, not because of how smart he was, and he was certainly a genius, but because he chose to be kind instead of lashing out. Izuku's notebooks, if ever made public, could crumble hero society. Shota was more than aware that they had been incredibly close to seeing a nightmare come true. And every time his already burnt soul was smashed, they got closer and closer to seeing it fall apart. That pain was so evident after the alleyway attack, but losing Osamu would have broken Izuku beyond repair. That mentor was probably the only person in the world who could genuinely stop Izuku from unleashing hell on the corrupt heroes, deserving or not. I need to pick him up from the hospital. Can you just promise me you will keep him by your side? You'll keep him by this side of. You'll keep him on this side of the line. What side is that? Hitoshi's side. Shoda stood up to stretch. The side that keeps him out of Tartarus prison. He didn't wait for Hitoshi to reply. He knew the teen would do his best to keep Izuku safe, on the safe side of sanity. The drive to the hospital left Shoda riddled with anxiety. How is he going to convince Izuku on a damn field trip later this week? Should he even bother? Izuku would likely fall into one or two categories: too emotional to move, or in desperate need of an outlet. Depending on which category he fell into, he could still make the field trip. Honestly, Shoda just didn't want him to miss out on the rescue training. The USJ was a campus tool, but they didn't have the ability to use it every day or even every month. He wanted his students to get all the chances they deserved to learn, and they deserved to learn everything they possibly could. Okay, everyone, that was chapter 10 of It's Not Love If You Run When It's Hard by Lita Cakes. I actually only read the first 2 or 3 paragraphs before starting this chapter. So yeah, most of it was just freestyle and me not knowing what the hell was happening next. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure to take care of yourself, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.